Hello friends, my name is Mark Biernat and I'm a monetary economist. In this video, I want to talk about the Russian economy in relation to the secret police and the Russian mind, the culture of the Russian mind. And there is an interesting psychological dynamic here that will come into play in the future. Many people say, well, the secret police, they're so prevalent, they're so strong, there's no way we can break them. Listen to my explanation. First, I'm going to start with a story. Then I'm going to tell you a thumbnail history of the secret police in Russia. And then I'm going to relate it to economics in a very specific and interesting way. So let's begin. Okay, so when I was in high school, I was going to an all-boys English boarding school in New England, and I was really into Russian history and Russian studies as a Cold Warrior. And we got this great opportunity to go to the Soviet embassy as a field trip in high school. And we went to New York on a bus, and we met with the ambassador and the people explaining the Soviet position, it was really the Russian position in the world. I was leaning back on my chair while I was listening to this, let's say, nonsense. And I knocked the bookshelf down behind me. It hit the light switch. Everything went off. The Russian guy gasped, and I flipped it on quickly, and I noticed all these bugs and listening devices coming out from the wall. And, being the obnoxious kid I was, I took the device and I was like, "Comrade, everything's okay. Comrade, relax." My teacher wasn't too thrilled. The ambassador wasn't too thrilled. All the kids were laughing. I was like, again, I wanted to be on stage like I am now. I took one of his pamphlets. It was called The Truth About Afghanistan. It was a Russian version. And we all eventually left, and I apologized and everything. I said I was just joking around. He wasn't used to this type of dynamic high school American attitude. But my point being, everything was monitored, even for a high school field trip. Fast forward, St. Petersburg, recent history. I was talking to a St. Petersburg official. I can't mention any more details or names, but a pretty high-ranked official. And in a secret room, he without mentioning, he was basically saying everything is being watched, everything is being monitored, and the FSB is like KGB 2.0, much more sophisticated electronically. So this is the history, and it starts with Ivan the Terrible. Ivan the Terrible was also known as Ivan Grozny. And also Ivan the Dreadful, Ivan the Formidable in Russian. So in 1565, he set up the Oprichnina. And the Oprichniki were the secret police for Ivan the Terrible to do terrible, bad, dreadful things. They wore black robes, and they rode black horses, like the Nazgul in Lord of the Rings, the Dark Riders. They were terrifying. And that's the beginning of the mentality and the collective unconsciousness of these Russian secret police. In 1881, Alexander III started the Okhrana. Okay, I almost want to say it with a different accent. And then there was the Cheka in 1917, after the revolution, when it began. Then under Stalin, the KGB, the Committee for State Security, was started after a few other acronyms were rolling in. And in 1995, the FSB replaced the KGB. An interesting history was initially, in the 90s, Russia was pretty much ruled by, let's say, mobsters and gangsters. And the FSB did clean that up. But they assumed the power and the centralization. And it came with a price, like all magic does. Tremendous surveillance of the Russian mind and the people. If you go to Russia and you ask somebody on the street and just start talking geopolitics, they'll often say, well, we're just little people. This expression, we're just little people, is prevalent in Russian society. And my two stories tell you why. The Russian mind is like this pepper. You see how it's in this pot? It's pruned. And again, there's nothing intrinsically incorrect with Russians. If you bring them abroad in a free culture, they just take off often. But within the context of the Russian secret police and the Russian culture as it exists, this is the Russian mind. It's well cultivated and in place. And this pepper plant, once in a while, even within a pot, it will produce a small little pepper. But if I put it into my field, I have tremendous production of peppers. So a free mind is a productive mind. And let me explain it in terms of specific economics. When you have raw material and mobile capital, and you take this and change it into fixed capital, which purpose is for the production of capital goods, the entrepreneur is looking from an intertemporal perspective. He's looking about profitability now, but also the completion of plans in the future, because production of consumption goods are a multi-stage, complex process in a capitalistic economy. If you have a lot of fear and pruning and we are little people attitude, if, for example, if you were to get water from a stream, maybe you'll create a bucket and carry it every day. If you have less fear and you can plan for the future, your intertemporal time horizon is longer, and you can have more complex application of capital goods through time, maybe you'll build us a trough. And even longer, maybe you'll build a pump and actually plumbing. So that, in summary, is capital formation in a capitalistic economy. It has an intertemporal dimension rooting back to the psychology of the entrepreneur. How does that relate to Russia today? Every way possible. Because if people are pruned like this, and their production is tiny little peppers once in a while, rather than huge pepper production in a large field, that's what the economy will give them. And you can say, how do we break this FSB, the secret police? It's not a sustaining model. There's so many people involved in this multi-level secret service protection of state security that they have to be supported by a dynamic, diverse, middle-class economy. And that doesn't exist when minds are psychologically pruned and people are living in the shadows in fear. You cannot sustain this model forever. So when you say, how do you break it? Well, it does break. Right after Ivan the Terrible, it was called the time of troubles in Russia. Everything fell apart. Even Poland, the Commonwealth of Poland and Lithuania placed a false Dmitry on the throne as Tsar. Things fell apart for Russia. It wasn't until the Romanovs came to power, and that's another video. I believe they were like Boyar's supreme oligarchs of today. They were really like gangsters that they started to put it again together in terms of their monarchy. So the secret police for Ivan the Terrible did not work. It didn't work for the communists, and the FSB cannot sustain the economics of Russia just by living in fear, because this is the result. This is the metaphor. This is the metaphor, yeah. This is what you need to know. I know it's a rather complex idea to grasp, but if you read about capital formation in any economy, there is a psychological and intertemporal component which is critical. And if that freedom is not there to live not in fear, but to express yourself in very dynamic, divergent ways, then the economy cannot thrive, and it will eventually implode upon itself. So that is why there's great hope now in this time that Russia will be entering the new time of troubles, echoing its history of Ivan the Terrible. My name is Mark Bernot, and I'm a monetary economist. Thank you very much. Have a great day.